O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, for the King of ages. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Sing, choirs of angels, sing in exultation. Sing, O ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, glory in the highest. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
Hello, everyone. I'm invisible. Pardon me for a moment here. I have too many windows open. Hello, happy Christmas, or happy crisis, or whatever the case may be. I wanted to open with a little something there while I get everything open and online and so on and so forth. That was the happy little VR thingamabob. Let me see here. I want to do two things. The first is I want to put the StreamYard link in the chat, because I know a lot of people like to come in and chitty chat and talk and share their holiday happiness. And the second thing is I want to start a poll, because I do have a spooky story that we can read, but we only have an hour and a half. And then we're heading over to Maya's. So I want to, well, if you guys want to do a spooky story, we'll do the spooky story. But if not, then, then not. So yeah. Let's see. Yes and no and add another option. It's a relatively short story, but, so we'll throw that out there. And okay, I think we're good. Possibly, hopefully. In the meantime, well, I'll give that a few minutes to run, and we have a Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie.
Oh, hello.
Still foggy?
Yes.
Here too, it's actually gotten thicker. I'm like, my goodness. Santa's gonna be a ninja today.
Really?
I guess, yeah. Still can't see him. Maya, if Tapioca wins, then we're gonna track down Tapioca and make him read the spooky story. I actually don't know where Tapioca is today.
Good evening, guys.
Hi, Jenny.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Oh, I got an echo. Hold on a second.
I have an echo too. I can't figure out why.
Better? Yep. No.
It sounds okay to me.
1, 2, 3. No, it's bad here.
Oh, let me.
I've still got an echo. I don't.
How about
know
now?
why.
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Clear.
Okay,
Clear.
it was because I had my desktop audio on for the
Oh my God!
the Christmas Carol,
That's
and
what I
even
figured.
though I'm not hearing you, StreamYard is, and it's rebroadcasting.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hello,
so
Purple.
You got your OBS going there.
Okay.
It's
I
feeding it
thought
in
that
for
was
you.
on my end, and that's why it took me so long to come in, because I thought I had the stream open in two windows.
Yes, it's my first day on YouTube. I never have my desktop audio on, but that was the only way, because it's a VR file. So I have to use a special browser to play the damn thing.
Yeah, well, I was fooling around trying to fix it, so.
Well, I'm glad I'm the only one not echoing because I only have the one input.
Nice hat, dude.
Yeah, I'm going with festive, as one does. And so I don't actually have a proper earring, but my oldest came close and knitted me a purple star, and I'm like, ooh,
Aww.
I feel even more fancy.
That's good.
Nice.
Commander.
Why do you call me Commander?
Because of your initials.
CDN stands for Canadian, dude.
I know.
So Commander's kind
Hi,
of way
Ollie.
off. Hey,
I know there's also Commander 401. It's just I find it amusing. Neil's corrected me a dozen times, but
That's
to me it just gets
CMD.
funnier.
That's CMD. Completely different.
Details.
It's, Ollie's
I know.
commander
Ollie,
of the Atlantic. Commander of Atlantic Canada.
Hell yeah. All right. So how's things on the Canadian coast?
The Canadian East Coast, things are, well, all right, I guess. Quiet. I'm home with my dog. That's about it.
Hey, it works. It works. It's
Time
been
to get
very
stoned 'cause I
quiet.
just finished doing the dishes.
Ah, nice.
Nice.
Oh, I need a clip for that too. I'll find one. Not right now. Probably later. Maybe. I've been assembling a library of clips. I've got a few fun ones.
Roach clips?
Let's see. No, sadly, video clips from here's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It is true whether or not you believe in it.
Little clips like that.
That turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Now, see, the first place I went was hair clips.
Yep.
Well,
We
is
gotta
Alex
go and get
Jones bankrupt
Stephanie
yet?
off the floor.
I'm pretty sure he filed for bankruptcy at the very least. I saw something on flash across my newsfeed the other day, but I didn't pay any attention because that's not the kind of story I generally cover.
He
Bum,
filed
bum,
for
bum.
bankruptcy, and a judge intercepted it and said, no, you're not going to do that before you pay off the damages that you were ordered.
The most recent news from CNN a week ago, he proposes paying Sandy Hook families $55 million to try to settle things. I don't think that's going to work for him.
Probably not.
Well, multiply that
Remember.
by 10, and then you got something to talk about. Not necessarily agree on, but something to talk about.
Yeah.
55
Talk
million.
about.
Yep.
Well, those gay frogs are going to get after him, at some point.
Ember,
Frogs
what's
don't
true.
take that kind of stuff kindly.
Ember, what's the speed limit of sex?
68 because one more and you have to turn around.
That's right, 68 because it's 69. You got to turn around. All right.
Yeah.
You heard that already. Then you ruined my show. Thanks.
It's been a little while.
You 69ists.
Nice.
It's because of you that people like me can't go around saying we're 69. We have to say we're 70 because everybody giggles otherwise.
Hey, I mean, if people giggled at me more often, I'd be happy.
I'm 60. I'm 69 in 25 days. Old.
There you go.
How's that sound?
Oh, goodness. All right. It looks like we're doing a scary story. We've got 22 votes and 60% yes. So let's see here. I've got
Scary story on Christmas?
Yeah,
why don't we just watch Die Hard?
Oh, it's better than Die Hard. So that's a thing that used to happen before television took over everything. Is one of the traditions was the reason A Christmas Carol is so famous is because it's a ghost story about Christmas, and people just don't do it anymore. And these days,
Yeah.
Christmas is earlier and earlier with the capitalism pushing back against Thanksgiving, even hurdling it and kind of rearing its head into Halloween territory. Back in the day, Halloween lasted until Christmas Eve,
Well,
which,
that's one you can't blame on TV, because the scary stories were part of the earlier Victorian era, and Queen Victoria basically rewrote Christmas in England.
oh, for sure.
Because
She
the
imported
Christmas
all
tree-
the things.
Well, because her husband was German, and she started, he brought in a lot of traditions, which was also the first time anyone in England had a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
Heck,
Yep,
you go back
she
far
loved the
enough
Christmas
and-
trees. She loved the lights.
Yeah,
But
so
her
the whole
her
thing
kids and
about
grandkids, between all of them, they
Yeah.
ruled all of Europe. So she just took all the Christmas traditions and brought
Yep.
them to England.
Yeah, so
go
all
back
the
far
stuff
enough
we
and,
associate with Christmas, of the tree and giving presents and the decorative lights and the big feast, all of that were things that Queen Victoria added to it. None of that was done before her.
Well,
Does that
in
mean
England.
that if they brought all that to England, does that mean that England's equivalent of Krampus is Boris Johnson?
Krampus's
Yikes.
Boris Johnson.
That's frightening. Well, I mean, you've got the Saxe Coburg Gotas. They didn't change their name until WW1.
All right, so because it tickles my fancy, let's try and do this the same way Aaron does his Bible studies, which is to say, I'll try reading, and when something pops into mind, feel free to interrupt me. What could possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Nothing.
Everything.
Okay. This is called The Festival by H.P. Lovecraft. He's got his issues, but the man could write spooky shit. I was far from home, and the spell of the eastern sea was upon me. In the twilight, I heard it pounding on the rocks, and I knew it lay just over the hill where the twisting willows writhed against the clearing sky and the first stars of evening. And because my fathers had called me to the old town beyond, I pushed on through the shallow, new-fallen snow, along the road that soared lonely up to where Aldebaran twinkled among the trees, on toward the very ancient town I had never seen, but often dreamed of. It was the Yuletide that men call Christmas, though they know in their hearts it is older than Bethlehem and Babylon, older than Memphis and mankind. It was the Yuletide, and I had come at last to the ancient sea town where my people had dwelt and kept festival in the elder time, when festival was forbidden, where also they had commanded their sons to keep festival once every century, that the memory of primal secrets might not be forgotten. Mine were an old people, and were old even when this land was settled 300 years before. And they were strange, because they had come as a dark furtive folk from opiate southern gardens of orchids, and spoken another tongue before they learnt the tongue of the blue-eyed fishers. And now they were scattered, and shared only the rituals of mysteries that none living could understand. I was the only one who came back that night to the old fishing town as legend bade, for only the poor and the lonely remember. Then, beyond the hill's crest, I saw Kingsport outspread frostily in the gloaming, snowy Kingsport, with its ancient vanes and steeples, ridge-poles and chimney-pots, wharves and small bridges, willow trees and graveyards. Endless labyrinths of steep, narrow, crooked streets, and dizzy church-crowned central peak that time durst not touch. Ceaseless mazes of colonial houses, piled and scattered at all angles and levels like a child's disordered blocks, antiquity hovering on the gray wings over winter-whitened gables and gambrel roofs. Fanlights and small-paned windows, one by one gleaming out in the cold dusk to join Orion and the archaic stars, and against the rotting wharves the sea pounded, the secretive, immemorial sea out of which the people had come in the elder time. Beside the road, at its crest, a still higher summit rose, bleak and windswept, and I saw that it was a burying ground where black gravestones stuck ghoulishly through the snow like the decayed fingernails of a gigantic corpse. The printless road was very lonely, and sometimes I thought I heard a distant horrible creaking as of a gibbet in the wind. They had hanged 4 kinsmen of mine for witchcraft in 1692, but I did not know just where. As the road wound down the seaward slope, I listened for the merry sounds of a village at evening, but did not hear them. Then I thought of the season, and felt that these old Puritan folk might well have Christmas customs strange to me, and full of silent hearthside prayer. So, after I did not listen for merriment or look for wayfarers, but kept on down past the hushed, lighted farmhouses and shadowy stone walls to where the signs of ancient shops and sea taverns creaked in the salt breeze, and the grotesque knockers of pillared doorways glistened along deserted, unpaved lanes in the light of little curtained windows. I had seen maps of the town and knew where to find the home of my people. It was told that I should be known and welcomed, for village legend lives long. So I hastened through Black Street to Circle Court and across the fresh snow on the one full flagstone pavement in the town to where Green Lane leads off behind the market house. The old maps still held good, and I had no trouble, though at Arkham they must have lied when they said the trolleys ran to this place, since I saw not a wire overhead. Snow would have hid the rails in any case. I was glad I had chosen to walk, for the white village had seemed very beautiful from the hill, and now I was eager to knock at the door of my people, the 7th house on the left in Green Lane, with an ancient peaked roof and jutting second story, all built before 1650. There were lights inside the house when I came upon it, and I saw from the diamond window panes that it must have been kept very close to its antique state. The upper part overhung the narrow, grass-grown street and nearly met the overhanging part of the house opposite, so that it was almost in a tunnel, with a low stone doorstep wholly free of the snow. There was no sidewalk, but many houses had high doors reached by double flights of steps with iron railings. It was an odd scene, and because I was strange to New England, I had never known its like before. Though it pleased me, I would have relished it better if there had been footprints in the snow, and people in the streets, and a few windows without drawn curtains. When I sounded the archaic iron knocker, I was half afraid. Some fear had been gathering in me, perhaps because of the strangeness of my heritage, and the bleakness of the evening, and the queerness of the silence in that aged town of curious customs. And when my knock was answered, I was fully afraid, because I had not heard any footsteps before the door creaked open. But I was not afraid long, for the gowned, slippered old man in the doorway had a bland face that reassured me, and though he made signs that he was dumb, he wrote a quaint and ancient welcome with the stylus and wax tablet he carried. He beckoned me into a low, candlelit room with massive exposed rafters and dark, stiff, sparse furniture of the 17th century. The past was vivid there, not for an attribute was missing. There was a cavernous fireplace and a spinning wheel at which bent an old woman in loose wrapper and deep poke bonnet sat back toward me, silently spinning despite the festive season. An indefinite dampness seemed upon the place, and I marveled that no fire should be blazing. The high-backed settle face of the row of curtained windows at the left and seemed to be occupied, though I was not sure. I did not like everything about what I saw, and felt again the fear I had had. This fear grew stronger from what had before lessened it, for the more I looked at the old man's bland face, the more its very blandness terrified me. The eyes never moved, and the skin was too like wax. Finally, I was sure it was not a face at all, but a fiendishly cunning mask. But the flabby hands, curiously gloved, wrote genially on the tablet and told me I must wait a while before I could be led to the place of festival. Pointing to a chair, table, and pile of books, the old man now left the room, and when I sat down to read, I saw the books were hoary and moldy, and that they included old Morrister's Wild Marvels of Science, the terrible Sedemiscus Triumphatus of Joseph Glanville, published in 1681, the shocking Daemonolotria of Remigius, printed at 1595 at Lyons, and worst of all, the unmentionable Necronomicon of the mad Arab Abdul Alzared in Olus Wormius's forbidden Latin translation, a book which I had never seen, but of which I had heard monstrous things had happened. No one spoke to me, but I could hear the creaking of signs in the wind outside and the whirl of the wheel as the bonneted old woman continued her silent spinning. I thought the room and the books and the people very morbid and disquieting, but because an old tradition of my father's had summoned me to strange feastings, I resolved to expect queer things. So I tried to read, and as soon became tremblingly absorbed by something I found in that accursed Necronomicon, a thought and a legend too hideous for sanity or consciousness. But I disliked it when I fancied I heard a closing of one of the windows that the settle faced, as if it had been stealthily opened. It had seemed to follow a whirring that was not of the old woman's spinning wheel. This was not much, though, for the old woman was spinning very hard, and the aged clock had been striking. After that, I lost the feeling that there were persons on the settle, and was reading intently and shudderingly when the old man came back, and booted and dressed in a loose antique costume, he sat down on that very bench so that I could not see him. It was certainly nervous waiting, and the blasphemous book in my hands made it doubly so. When 11 struck, however, the old man stood up, glided to a massive carved chest in the corner, and got 2 hooded cloaks, one of which he donned, the other of which he draped round the old woman, who was ceasing in her monotonous spinning. Then they both started for the outer door, the woman lamely creeping, and the old man, after picking up the very book I had been reading, beckoning me as he drew his hood over that unmoving face, or mask. We went out into the moonless and tortuous network of that incredibly ancient town, went out as the lights in the curtained windows disappeared one by one, and the dog star leered at the throng of cowled, cloaked figures that poured silently from every doorway, and formed monstrous processions up this street and that, past the creaking signs and antediluvian gables, the thatched roofs and diamond-paned windows, threading precipitous lanes where decaying houses overlapped and crumbled together, gliding across open courts and churchyards where the bobbing lanthorns made eldritch drunken constellations. Amid these hushed throngs, I followed my voiceless guide, jostled by elbows that seemed preternaturally soft, and pressed by chests and stomachs that seemed abnormally pulpy, but seeing never a face and hearing never a word. Up, up, up the eerie columns slithered, and I saw that all the travelers were converging as if they flowed near a sort of focus of crazy alleys at the top of a high hill in the center of town, where perched was a great white church. I had seen it from the road's crest when I looked at Kingsport in the new dusk, and it has made me shiver because Aldebaran had seemed to balance itself a moment on the ghostly spire. There was an open space around the church, partly a churchyard with spectral shafts and partly a half-paved square, swept nearly bare of snow by the wind, and lined with unwholesomely archaic houses having peaked roofs and overhanging gables. Death fires danced over the tombs, revealing gruesome vistas, though queerly failing to cast any shadows. Past the churchyard, where there were no houses, I could see over the hill's summit and watch a glimmer of stars on the harbor, though the town was invisible in the dark. Only once in a while a lanthorn bobbed horribly through serpentine alleys, on its way to overtake the throng that was now slipping speechlessly into the church. I waited till the crowd had oozed back into the black doorway, until all the last stragglers had followed. The old man was pulling at my sleeve, but I was determined to be the last. Then I finally went, the sinister man and the old spinning woman before me. Crossing the threshold into that swarming temple of unknown darkness, I turned once to look at the outside world as the churchyard phosphorescence cast a sickly glow on the hilltop pavement. And as I did so, I shuddered. For though the wind had not left much snow, a few patches did remain on the path near the door, and in that fleeting backward look it seemed to my troubled eyes that they bore no mark of passing feet. Not even mine. The church was scarce lighted by all the lanthorns that had entered it, for most of the throng had already vanished. They had streamed up the aisle between the high white pews to the trap door of the vaults which yawned loathsomely open just before the pulpit, and were now squirming noiselessly in. I followed dumbly down the foot-warm steps and into the dank, suffocating crypt. The tale of that sinuous line of night marchers seemed very horrible, and as I saw them wriggling into the venerable tomb, they seemed more horrible still. Then I noticed that the tomb's floor had an aperture down which the throng was sliding, and in a moment we were all descending an ominous staircase of rough-hewn stone, a narrow spiral staircase, damp and peculiarly odious. That wound endlessly down into the bowels of the hill, past monotonous walls of dripping stone blocks and crumbling mortar. It was silent, a shocking descent, and I observed, after a horrible interval, that the walls and steps were changing in nature, as if chiseled out of solid rock. What mainly troubled me was that the myriad footfalls made no sound and set up no echoes. After more eons of descent, I saw some side passages, or burrows, leading from unknown recesses of blackness to this shaft of nighted mystery. Soon they became excessively numerous, like impious catacombs of nameless menace, and their pungent odor of decay grew quite unbearable. I knew we must have passed down through the mountain and beneath the earth of Kingsport itself, and I shivered that a town should be so aged and maggoty with subterraneous evil. Then I saw the lurid shimmering of pale light, and heard the insidious lapping of sunless waters. Again I shivered, for I did not like the things that the night had brought, and wished bitterly that no forefather had summoned me to this primal rite. As the steps and the passages grew broader, I heard another sound, the thin, whining mockery of a feeble flute, and suddenly there spread out before me the boundless vista of an inner world, a vast, funguous shore, litten by belching columns of sick greenish flame and washed by a wide oily river that flowed from abysses frightful and unsuspected to join the blackest gulfs of immemorial ocean. Fainting and gasping, I looked at that unhallowed Erebus titan toadstools, leprous fire, and slimy water, and saw the cloaked throngs forming a semicircle around a blazing pillar. It was the Yule rite, older than man and fated to survive him, the primal rite of Solstice and of spring's promise beyond the snows, the first rite of fire and evergreen, light and music, and in the Stygian grotto I saw them do the rite, and adore the sick pillar of flame, and throw into the water handfuls gouged out of the viscous vegetation which glittered green in caloric glare. I saw this, and I saw something amorphously squatted far away from the light, piping noisomely on a flute, and as the thing piped, I thought I heard noxious muffled flutterings in the fetid darkness where I could not see. But what frightened me most was that flaming column, spouting volcanically from the depths, profound and inconceivable, casting no shadows as healthy flame should, and coating the nitrous stone above with a nasty venomous verdigris, for in all that seething combustion no warmth lay, but only the calmness of death and corruption. The man who had brought me now squirmed to a point directly beside the hideous flame, and made stiff ceremonial motions to the semicircle he faced. At certain stages of the ritual they did groveling obeisance, especially when he held above his head that abhorrent Necronomicon he had taken with him. And I shared all the obeisances, because I had been summoned to this festival by the writings of my forefathers. Then the old man made a signal to the half-seen flute player in the darkness, which player thereupon changed its feeble drone to a scarce louder drone in another key, precipitating as it did so a horror unthinkable and unexpected. At this horror I sank nearly to the lichened earth, transfixed with a dread not of this nor any world, but only of the mad spaces between the stars. Out of the unimaginable blackness beyond the gangrenous glare of that cold flame, out of the Tartarian leagues through which that oily river rolled uncanny, unheard, and unsuspected, there flopped rhythmically a horde of tame, trained, hybrid winged things that no sound eye could ever wholly grasp, or sound brain ever wholly remember. They were not altogether crows, nor moles, nor buzzards, nor ants, nor vampire bats, nor decomposed human beings, but something I cannot and must not recall. They flopped limply along, half with their webbed feet and half with their membranous wings, and as they reached the throng of celebrants, the cowled figures seized and mounted them, and rode off one by one along the reaches of that unlighted river into pits and galleries of panic, where poison springs feed frightful and undiscoverable cataracts. The old spinning woman had gone with the throng, and the old man remained only because I had refused when he motioned me to seize an animal and ride like the rest. I saw when I staggered to my feet that the amorphous flute player had rolled out of sight, but that two of the beasts were patiently standing by. As I hung back, the old man produced his stylus and tablet and wrote that he was the true deputy of my fathers, who had founded the Yule worship in this ancient place, that it had been decreed I should come back, and that the most secret mysteries were yet to be performed. He wrote this in a very ancient hand, and when I still hesitated, he pulled from his loose robe a seal ring and watch, both with my family arms, to prove that he was what he had said. But it was a hideous proof, because I knew from old papers that that watch had been buried with my great-great-great-great-grandfather in 1698. Presently, the old man drew back his hood and pointed to the family resemblance in his mask, but I only shuddered, because I was sure that the face was merely a devilish waxen mask. The flopping animals were now scratching restlessly at the lichens, and I saw that the old man was nearly as restless himself. When one of the things began to waddle and edge away, he turned quickly to stop it, so that the suddenness of his motion dislodged the waxen mask from what should have been his head. And then, because that nightmare's position barred me from the stone staircase down which we had come, I flung myself into the oily underground river that bubbled somewhere to the caves of the sea, flung myself into that putrescent juice of earth's inner horrors, before the madness of my screams could bring down upon me all the charnel legions of these pest gulfs, and what they might conceal. At the hospital, they told me I had been found half frozen in Kingsport Harbor at dawn, clinging to the drifting spar that accident sent to save me. They told me I had taken the wrong fork of the hill road the night before and fallen over the cliffs at Orange Point, a thing they deduced from prints found in the snow. There was nothing I could say, because everything was wrong. Everything was wrong, with the broad window showing a sea of roofs in which only about 1 in 5 was ancient, and the sound of trolleys and motors in the streets below. They insisted that this was Kingsport, and I could not deny it. When I went delirious at hearing that the hospital stood near the old churchyard on Central Hill, they sent me to St. Mary's Hospital in Arkham, where I could have better care. I liked it there, for the doctors were broad-minded, and even lent me their influence in obtaining the carefully sheltered copy of Alzared's objectionable Necronomicon from the library of Miskatonic University. They said something about a psychosis, and agreed I had better get any harassing obsessions off of my mind. So I read again that hideous chapter, and shuddered doubly because it was indeed not new to me. I had seen it before. Let footprints tell what they might, and where it was, I had seen it, were best forgotten. There was no one, in waking hours, who could remind me of it, but my dreams are filled with terror, because of phrases I dare not quote. I dare quote only one paragraph, and put such English as I can to make from the awkward Low Latin. The nethermost caverns, wrote the mad Arab, are not for the fathoming eyes that see, for their marvels are strange and terrific. Cursed the ground where dead thoughts live, new and oddly bodied, and evil the mind that is held by no head. Wisely did Ibn Sakabo say, that happily is the tomb where no wizard hath lain, and happy the town at night whose wizards are all ashes. For it is of old rumor that the soul of the devil brought hastes not for the charnel of his clay, but fats and instructs the very worm that gnaws, till out of corruption horrid life springs, and the dull scavengers of earth wax, crafty, to vex it, and swell monstrous to plague it. Great holes, secretly, are dug where earth's pores ought to suffice, and things have learned to walk that ought to crawl.
Very, very well done.
You have an excellent voice for that.
Well, thank you. It was a little longer than I anticipated, but you know, you have to do it right, you know?
Yep.
I suppose I
Not
can
a
end the
problem.
poll now.
A lot of love for Edgar Allan Poe in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, Poe is my freaking favorite. One of my Halloween traditions is I always read one of Poe's stories to the kids. If not on Halloween night, as close as I can get whenever timing lines up. Always a great time. Do you guys have any story traditions? Not necessarily for this holiday, but for anything?
I buy Playboy just for the articles. Is that count?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Cool.
I actually did have Playboy just for the articles when I was younger.
Holy shit.
Is Playboy still for sale anyways? I've never seen it.
I don't know. I think they I'll just look it up. I know
Christy,
when Hugh's daughter took over, they changed things around.
Christy, she was a classmate of mine at Brandeis.
Oh. And what month did you post?
I wasn't asked, and at the time she really didn't. She might have had some pull with the publication, but we were but children.
Yep, apparently it's online only now. The final print issue was March 2020. Which is just bad fucking timing, because that's the time when people really need stuff delivered, you know.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Maya, that gives me an idea that maybe I should go see read what they're doing, and maybe try to send something. I miss writing for a magazine.
I used to write for Yahoo News, but it's not quite the same thing because,
No.
online content, you got to churn out, 13 articles a day.
You.
Adventures and things.
I was just a lowly columnist, so I only had to make up and lie about something for 1,000 words.
Fake news, fake news. Steph,
Well,
what
that's
are
the
your
nice
thoughts
thing I
on
like about being a columnist is that all those complex and annoying and difficult to get through things like the AP style book and all the rules of ethical journalism, you don't have to deal with any of that shit. You just write what you want and swear and all kinds of stuff. So it's a lot more me.
There you go.
Yeah. Nice.
My biggest story tradition is writing my family mythology and seeing how many of my siblings will insist they were there for shit I made up.
Tricky.
I've done that trick on my mom from time to time. I don't know, whenever I tell a story about something weird I did over the road or Yellowstone, whatever, my mother would just kind of nod along and be like, I remember that. I was there for that. And I'm like, no, you were not. So I just started making shit up and seeing if she remembered it and added details.
Yeah, I have a little brother like that. Well, he's not little anymore, but when he was growing up, he always knew things that went on in the family before he was born. No, John, you weren't born yet.
Well, on that note, I actually do remember things that went on in my family before I was born. Call it supernatural if you will. There's been a few things that have happened in my life that aren't actually explainable. That doesn't mean that magic was the cause, but whatever. So my great-grandmother, when my mother was pregnant for me, my great-grandmother made me a teddy bear because she knew that she wouldn't be around by the time I showed up. But she also made a second stuffed animal, a crocheted rabbit, for my little brother, who wasn't even conceived yet. And as trippy as that sounds, I remember visiting my great-grandmother's house. And remember, she died before I was even born. And when I described it to my parents, they were like, how the fuck do you know that?
Maybe you were the milkman.
Maybe.
And you're actually your own father. Or your own grandfather, I mean.
Time travel.
I was thinking the teddy bear had a digital recorder, and just when you got it, you downloaded everything into your brain. See, there's a scientific explanation for this.
Did you see the thing they're working on? I'm pretty sure this wasn't a joke, but I'm not positive. Okay, I'll say that first. Somebody working on some computer robot stuff, and they have this test thing that they're taking around, and it's apparently a robot head that looks like pretty much like a person, and it's all AI based. Okay, and it talks like a normal person. The inflections, ups and downs, tones, everything. It's completely natural speech. It was just amazing, a little shocking actually, and it's also hooked up to smart stuff. So this creature, which is just the head and part of the shoulders, can sit on your desk and just answer any question you got. Hang out and talk with you, all these kinds of things. Be your friend.
I think making it look somewhat humanoid is a mistake.
Years ago, I read about a survey that they did with people. I don't know how they conducted it. Don't really care. And it was the question. The question was, how do you feel about robots that look like people? And the response overwhelmingly was, the more they look like people, the more less comfortable I am with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the uncanny valley is a bitch.
I think, like the one you were saying, if it just sits there on your desk for you to talk to it, that, they would have been better off, making it look like a teddy bear or a stuffed toy.
Or maybe you're kindergarten.
Yeah. Like you people give more leeway for things that aren't quite right as long as they're not human.
Yep. Well, I mean,
Right.
People are comfortable with the images of anthropomorphic animals.
Mm-hmm.
Furries.
Yeah, furries are cool. Elven
Republicans
dwarves.
are not comfortable with furries.
I've noticed, and
They
it's
freak out
hilarious.
at furries even more than they do about the LGBT. It's
Yep.
really fun.
Yep, that's one of the things. So the Comic Con I run is way up in red country, and it's next to an army base too, which is it's not as red as you might think, but still there's a lot of red on army bases. And I make it a point to like not only are furries overtly welcomed, but there's usually a special event for furries. There's a special room where they can like a headless room for the furries so they can cool off and shit. I'm like, yeah, I want to make the furries very, very welcome so that they come. I mean, partly because I love them and partly because of the effect it has on, unpleasant people.
What kind of costume is that you're wearing?
Syracuse. Sorry, Jenny, what?
I was just wondering what kind of costume that is that Ollieman is wearing. This picture is small. I can't see.
He's playing a game.
Oh.
It's had various creatures. I'll call them aliens for lack of a better term, but it's some kind of a sword and sorcery type of game.
Baldur's Gate, I
Baldur's Gate
believe.
3.
That kind of sounds like it's a bunch of demons.
It's demons!
Are you talking about the guy that's in blue that's on the screen right now?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah, that's not my character. It's one of the NPCs in the game.
Yeah, and then
My
that red
guy-
thing is the master demon.
Okay, whatever.
The other guy's like a fish monster kind of thing.
No, dragon monster.
Oh, that's right. They put the dragonkin into every freaking world in D&D now, didn't they? Oh, well, if it makes people happy, it's all good.
When I lived in Syracuse, I knew a guy who was a furry. And I wonder if he was talking about the same convention because he was invited me along with him. So I was thinking of going to the furry convention dressed as Red Riding Hood.
Oh, I don't know about an actual dedicated furry convention, but it probably wouldn't have been my convention. We've only been going since 2021.
Oh, okay.
We were actually the first convention to reopen after the plague. We were planning it before, had to delay, whatever. We got to 2021 and, people still weren't quite comfortable. I wasn't comfortable running an event where, people could literally die. So we held it at the local zoo. The Watertown Zoo is freaking-gantic. So there was plenty of room for people to spread out. And we still had people either wear a mask or show their COVID card. They were not happy about it, but, yeah, you want to come, you got to be safe.
Yeah. Gee, if we let you in, we want you to try not to kill anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, there's plenty of room to distance. Everybody's outdoors, but you got to be safe.
Well, it's kind of demanding.
I know. I'm such a rude organizer.
That's the part that gets me is that they never got that wearing a mask is more to protect other people from you.
That's because of the general. So we've been able to determine there's differences in the way the brains function. People who, it's not that you're conservative minded, it's the way your brain is wired trends you towards conservatism, and similarly the way your brain is wired trends you towards leftism. That sort of thing. And then, normal people are just liberals. But
are you going to say this is because of your right-brained or left-brained?
No. Nope, it's entirely in the neuronal connections kind of thing.
I know. I
But
was making a joke.
oh, right, because of the political parties. I see.
So that, and the right brain and left brain thing was something that was kind of a popular fad in the late
Mhm.
70s and early 80s, but has since been thoroughly debunked. And yet there are still, probably the majority of people still believe it.
Yeah, there's well, I mean, there's a lot of things that have been thoroughly like that idea that people only use 10% of their brain. Of course not. Why would you have the other 90% if you
Yeah.
don't use it?
That claim never made sense to me.
The one that pisses me off the most, and they love to use it against trans people, and they're arguing that we know more about you than you do. Is it a kid can't make a decision for themselves, even if they're 21, because the brain doesn't mature till 25. Except it's only partially true because the brain isn't fully developed for your entire life. Actually, it continues to learn. Secondly, the stuff that they're talking about that is still growing and developing has nothing to do with central thought and processing and that sort of thing. It's all this rudimentary stuff in the limbic system and things. They're just so full of shit. It's just
Well,
true.
and even while they argue that a kid can't make that decision until he's like 25, that same kid can buy a gun when he's 16.
And drive a bomb called a car and
Yeah.
go to war and fight and kill.
It's
and,
like,
and
if
die.
you don't think his decision-making process is sound, why would you let him have a gun?
Well, that's just the hypocrisy of the right. We all know that.
It's a fight for truth, justice, and the American way. What are you talking about?
Carrie Ann's being humanist. Robots can live forever, but not humans. That's humanist.
I reckon robots might wear out too. I mean, just look at the Tin Man with the oil can and stuff.
The parts do, but I don't know. I'm so on the fence. Like I'm partly hoping that we figure out how to upload consciousnesses, partly because it would help with our overpopulation problem, partly because it would help with, poverty. What's the point of poverty if you live in a digital world? And partly because I need more than a human lifetime to learn all the things I want to learn, There's so much to learn. But on the other hand...
Well, Earl and I were having that discussion in the car just today. Because I was joking about having to add to my age every time somebody under 50 dies to hold the average. And that's, I was saying that, yeah, I wouldn't like to be immortal, but I wouldn't mind, staying around till I was 200 or 300.
They could take my brain and put it in a jar like on that show.
That'd be a good cartoon. It's
Futurama.
like having an argument with a theist. It's how do you know you're a precept type theist? How do you know you're not a brain in a vat? Him speaking to a brain in a vat. Pretty good.
I know. Like, how do you know you're not? Well, God told me. How do you know it's God?
I would have to have a guarantee that there's some way to turn me off that I control.
That may be asking too much. I mean, technically, we can do that right now. Like, we all have an expiration date, I suppose, which we don't know, but we can push the off button at any time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That part of being human is to have that control over your own autonomy.
Jenny,
I see. You don't want to be.
I want that as an escape route.
Yeah, you don't want to be trapped.
We'll put one of those little automotive emergency hammers in the jar with you. So if you really do things, you can just pick up the hammer in your mouth and break the jar.
No, oh, you're thinking of the TV show. No, I think they would use just the brain, wouldn't they?
Yeah, just don't shove it into a bottle and toss it in the ocean. I don't know anybody picking that stuff up. I mean, that'd be bad.
Stephanie, you probably remember the stories about the way they treated Einstein's brain.
No, if I did, I've forgotten them.
Oh, well, it's some trippy shit. Naturally, he donated his brain to science because everybody was super interested in what made his brain so different. And during his autopsy, they weighed it, and it did actually weigh more, but not significantly so. But the guy who was doing the autopsy put the brain in a jar and took it home with him because he wanted to be the one to make the breakthrough about what was special about Einstein. And he pickled it. And he kept it for years, and he'd slice off bits with, like, steak knives and shit, because he didn't have an autoclave or any of the equipment at home.
Yeah.
And
don't tell me you put it on toast.
Oh, my goodness, no.
Okay.
No, and it took forever for people to figure out who the fuck had it. It was just missing for years.
Really?
Yeah, they did finally get it back, but because of the shitty way he had handled it all that time, there was only a few things we could learn from it. Like, for example, he doesn't appear to have any more neurons than the average bear, but because it was cut up, like, they didn't even know for sure about that.
Yikes.
Well, what's even more important than the existence of the neuron itself is the number of dendrites a neuron has. How many other cells is it reaching out to and connecting with?
Mm-hmm.
How many connections is each one making?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of it. It's just, in a way, that's our one advantage over computers, because the way we set up our computers, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, and Porpoise will come through and correct me later.
You can count on it.
Yeah. But you can only connect, like, a circuit is either on or off. It can only connect to one thing, or it can be a transfer switch, like it can go to this one thing or that one thing, something like that. Our neurons connect to more things, and they're capable of connecting to even more things than is absolutely necessary to, run the equipment.
I believe a neuron is capable of not only connecting to many different things, but sending like or dissimilar signals out to other dendrites at the same time. That it can be controlling more than one thing at a time. I mean, it does your breathing, it does your heart. Those are different.
Yeah,
it does your thyroid.
Yeah, Ember was saying that computers we build can't do that, but yeah, neurons can. Yeah, we don't know if there's even a limit on how many connections one neuron can make.
I think I'm going to make a prediction that I'll be dead and not be able to find out. So you young people, you remember this for me. Drop a note on my headstone or something. I think we will always be smarter than computers. I think we will never be as fast as a computer.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I think they're... From here on out, anyway. In the day, we used to be faster, but they're always going to be faster. Mm-hmm. But we can think not in straight lines.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep, non-linear thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, and I personally don't believe that AI is ever going to reach that point. I think it's going to get much better and very freaky, but I don't think it'll ever get to us.
Not the way we're doing it. No.
Can bring Voyager 1 back to life.
Resurrection.
They brought Voyager 2 back to life. It had a little glitch, and they got it back to life. But it's both those probes are way past their sell by date anyway. But
Voyager.
Yes, Voyager.
We got to be careful of Voyager, because if that ever happens, you know what comes next. I mean, sure, we get whales back, but then what does God want with a starship? And then we have to reboot the series with freaking red matter and all that crazy crap, and it just gets out of hand, Although I do like the new movies. They're fun.
Yeah, I am definitely very opposed to rebooting the universe. I don't think we should do that.
Well, we would be pompous to think that we could.
I mean, have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in?
I do every night when I go to bed.
Oh, goodness. Oh, well. It's, sadly, as mentioned, we only have an hour and a half. It's technically time to hand this over to Maya. So I'm gonna check
No,
and
actually,
see.
you've got another half hour.
You've
My
got
always
another
on the
half
half
hour.
hour.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
We've only gone an hour.
Rock and roll.
59 minutes and 48 seconds, 50 seconds.
51, 52.
Oh, right, because I started half an hour early. Don't mind me. What is time?
Well, you know, we're here for you. We're here.
Time
We're
is
here to
a-
keep you on track and on time there, Ember.
Time is a mechanism
Cool.
to keep everything from happening at once.
Yep, 9:30.
Well,
I must have given my panic attack. Like, shit, I'm supposed to be on.
No! Get
Sorry,
cracking,
Maya.
Maya. Come on now.
every time I see, in the comments, in the comments under a video, every time somebody posts first, I have to respond to that and say that no, I'm first. I reject your concept of linear time.
Purple Nitty wishes to know: are there any remaining gaps or people who are like tentatively filling in? I'm guessing Nitty wants to snag a spot if possible.
Well, Purple's here for that. Purple knows everything.
I don't really think that there are any gaps, so it's more like only if we have any last minute cancellations.
Okay. Yeah, I've glanced at the schedule, but I don't know it inside and out or anything. However, if you do happen to get lost, like you go off and do something else and want to come back, the entire playlist is on Purple's channel, and there's a link to it in the description here. If you happen to come back to this video, I don't know. There's a link to it anyway, and you can just scroll down the playlist, and it lights up to show which one is live. So you can always find your way back.
Yeah, for those of you who found this by taking a glance at my channel, I'm just sharing the wealth is all. Figure more people find this stream of streams and continue to watch for everybody. So
oh, let's see. Did I remember to pin the link? Oh, I've got too many bloody windows open. I should close some.
always a problem.
It's true. Oh my
I am
goodness.
not a problem. What are you talking about?
What's this all about then?
Said always, not always a problem. It's that
Always,
it's the main-
always.
it-
Sounds the same to me.
always.
It's always Ollie.
I got it. I just gotta get the chat back.
Yeah, because I went and popped out of my my own window to check on Maya's stream. Because I'm doing too many things.
Yeah, too many things.
Yeah,
at
don't you
once.
hate that when you've got a whole mess of tabs open and you're trying to do something and you accidentally close a tab you still needed?
Mm-hmm. It's
Okay, there's the playlist for the whole marathon there in the YouTube chat.
all right. I think anybody who's been around for this long knows that the stream will just take you over to Maya's later. So I'll just change the pin message to the playlist. Make it easy for people. Yeah. So, yeah. Good times. Okay. Yeah, Stephanie, I was going to ask you right after the story, how close does that story describe New England? Like, are there cities like Kingsport? Is Kingsport even a real place?
Well, there's Kingstown, Rhode Island, is a real place, and might as well be Kingsport. It's there's Kingstown or no, there is a Kingston, Rhode Island. That's where the University of Rhode Island is. And then there's North Kingstown, which is different. Don't ask why. Don't ask why.
There will be only more questions. The rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
Jedi, I wasn't sure, but I figured Arkham might be made up. Necronomicon and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's kind of.
Although it does make me wonder if the creators of Batman got the name from Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's what I
because-
was wondering about when you read that.
I was kind of wondering that too. Yeah.
Jason, I
Let's
thought
see.
that's what you're describing, this underground mushroom kingdom thing. I thought that's where they put Jesus. Wasn't that it?
Yeah, what am I doing?
Jesus and the underground mushrooms? Is Jesus a Mario brother?
I'm not sure. I don't
No,
know.
he was a carpenter, not a plumber.
Mario was originally a carpenter. Remember in Jumpman,
I
Before
thought
he was Mario.
Was supposed to be a plumber.
That was later. The very first game Mario appeared in was Jumpman, and then Donkey Kong. He was the character you played against Donkey Kong. And
Ember, can you put a picture up if I send you something?
Probably, maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna go send you something on Twitter.
Oh, you're gonna make me go back to Twitter. Blue Sky needs to get its DMs going.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
All right, I got my window open.
There you are. And here it comes. There we go.
Oh my.
This is a photograph especially for today and tomorrow.
Hold on.
Aha, I see. Okay, let's see
Keep
here.
it up for a moment.
What it
Let
is, folks,
me-
is it's the world's best manger scene.
And I gotta add it to the stage. And there we go.
Ha.
Let's move us to the side.
Okay. You had that as your avatar, but at that size I couldn't read looking things. That's good.
It's riotous.
Mhm.
I want to show it to every
Jose, Jesus, Maria,
annoying,
Angel.
annoying religious person I know.
Yeah, it's an older one, but it doesn't stop being funny. The
No.
camel I noticed was not part of the original photo. Somebody put that on there, but hey, it works.
The camel works, although I think that you should have the camel being led by the Three Stooges.
It's a shame that they don't have like a sheep cigarettes, but I guess nobody wanted to be caught sucking a sheep.
That kind of reminds me of a different version of things that people add to menageries. In Catalonia, they they add little figures to the manger scenes that are crapping.
Yeah, I just learned about this one this year.
Oh, let's see. There's like a huge selection of these damn things.
Oh my god! Holy shit!
What the hell are
We got
those?
Smurfs and sports players.
Yeah, there's Hillary Clinton and the Dalai Lama and Vladimir Putin and Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez. There's like
Yeah.
Are these
anybody
bobble-
you can think of.
Are these
is cr-
bobbleheads?
And they're all taking a dump.
No,
huh?
they're all figurines that are bent over with their
Yeah, they're all
freaking
taking
pants
a
around
dump.
their
They're
ankles.
all kaganas.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
Jesus!
They're all pooping.
Wow.
Well, maybe not that guy. I don't know what the hell he's doing. But yeah, it's
He's pooping.
and
That's Roy
and
Orbison,
people put
isn't
them in their menageries or their mangers. Menageries, Jesus.
Oh, that is
That's
so
crazy.
funny.
Apparently, there's another Catalan Christmas ornament that they call it literally a poop stick, and I can't. It's a caga something.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
It
the pooping
sounds
log.
exactly like it sounds like an olden times version of Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo.
Yeah, they fill these logs with candy and whatnot, and then on Christmas they beat it with a stick and chant crap out.
Cagatio,
what-
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell do they say?
That's like Uncle Shit. You know?
Yeah, shit log. It's literally shit log.
it sounds like this was a pinata before they invented paper mache.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, but you beat it with a stick until all the candy comes out, and while it's happening, you're supposed to chant something that's like, you better poop real good or I'll beat you with the stick, while you're already beating you with the stick. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah, here you go.
okay.
You
I
go.
mean,
I
it
don't
makes
know if
it
you
makes
can-
people happy.
If you can see that, but there's Kingstown, Rhode Island, where my it's right there. It's my
Let's see. Yeah, it's on the lower right part of Rhode Island.
my eighth great grandfather was down that neck of the woods in circa 16 whatever. He showed up in Boston in 1637.
You know, the German
Just
word for
7 years after the foundation of the town, and then promptly got kicked out of Massachusetts.
Ember, I put 2 more pics in there for you. I think it would warm the chat's heart.
Okay, let's open that one and let's switch the tab over and let's add it back to the stage. Okay, this guy, Homo Trumpendicus Mega Man. Let's just go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The most primitive species of early human yet discovered by paleoanthropologists. I mean, I wish I had Erica on my list, because I would love to hear the Gutsit Gibbon analysis of this. But just winging it myself, we can see, from the pronounced brow ridge and the total lack of chin, that this is clearly a very early hominid. The brain case of no more than perhaps 400 cc's renders it pre-Anthropithecus, in fact. The categorization in Homo perhaps might be overly generous.
Yeah, please tell me that this is a branch that went extinct and not actually an ancestor.
Sadly, we can't.
But it does have, I don't know how they did the reconstruction of the soft tissue, but they got the asshole-shaped mouth exactly right.
There may in fact be asshole bones. Much like primates have the there's a frickin' bone.
The baculum?
No, that's a penis bone.
Yeah.
Starts with an H and it gets broken when somebody's strangled, but not when they're hung.
Oh, in the voice box.
in the throat.
Shit.
It eludes me at the moment.
Yeah, it's there, but I can't remember either.
Instead of that bone, he's got asshole lip bones. That's how we know they have like the duckbill thing going on. Hyoid, thank you, Jedi. Yes.
I'll be getting much more familiar with mine because I'm going in for some thyroid inspections.
Yeah, my poor meat brain loses things all the damn time. And this is Jenny's other picture. It's damn windmills.
You might need to blow that up so you can see who the guests are.
That's as big as I can get it.
Oh, okay.
Is it? Yeah.
I can make out the faces.
We have
we've W and Laura Bush, Bill and Hillary, Obama and Michelle, and Melania, all very, very, very happy as they stand over the casket of 45. I'm not sure who that is in the background or if that's even important, but and it says damn windmills. I'm not sure. Of course, this would never be realistic. For one, they'd all be dancing a jig, especially Melania. But for two, the casket would be made of solid fucking gold.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he requested that, but I think Melania would say, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
Sorry, Donnie.
It's my turn now.
Yeah.
I think that Melania is just really pissed off because she never expected him to live this long.
That's fair. I don't think anyone expected him to live this long.
She thought she'd only have to do it for a couple of years.
Yeah, like what was her name? Anna Nicole Smith, who married that really, really evil oil billionaire on the assumption that, he would die quickly and she'd get to keep his money.
Yep.
Which I believe happened. I think
That's-
he only lived for like 4 or 5 years.
That's good. You should highlight Vex's comment. That's hysterical.
What?
The what now?
She should bury him on a putt-putt golf course.
Oh.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
They
Oh,
could use
Jedi
it-
says they should charge to use him as a toilet. We
They could
would
use his
end
hair
the
as a
national
hazard.
debt.
What's that,
Oh,
Jamie?
I don't
yeah.
know. Who do you suppose would win in terms of human waste? Would it be Donald or Maggie Thatcher?
What's the parameter of testing?
Just how much human waste had been expended upon their final resting place.
Trump did far more damage to the country than Thatcher did.
Well, I mean, Trump did more damage to our country than Thatcher did.
She's got a lot to answer for over in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she did not
Although
incite a
Rishi
rebellion
Sunak
against
is
the
making
government.
making a run at her record. God.
Maggie Thatcher, the Ronald Reagan of the UK.
Austerity measures. Yay. Or something. How did we get onto politics? I blame Jenny.
I don't know. Oh, you put up Trumpalopithecus
I thought about that,
there.
and I thought, no, this is just a funeral picture. That's fine.
Although
Ay,
with
ay,
all
ay.
the references to death and funerals in these streams.
I know, everyone is so cheerful this year.
Well,
Oh, happy
I
Christmas.
have come up with a new
Ho,
project
ho,
that I have
ho.
to do. I have to build myself a coffin out of Lego before I die.
Good call. Good call. Yeah.
I was
yeah.
wondering what I was going to do with all the spare parts I've got. I probably have enough to do that.
Are you
Okay.
an IKEA dinosaur that you have spare parts hanging around?
I just have lots of Lego parts.
Mm.
I have at least, those plastic 10-gallon tubs.
Yeah.
I have at least a dozen of those that are just filled with loose parts.
Oh. Oh, don't let Nitty find out. Or Neil for that matter. You'll get pirate rated.
Well, definitely between the three of you, you ought to be able to figure something out.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I wouldn't mind Neil doing that because I want it to get known because I've already taken out the trademarks on all the toys for atheist pirate bikers from the internet.
I was trying to tell the kids earlier today. My upstairs housemate got one of those Lego Star Destroyers for his big Christmas present, and he's building it right now. And so, we were talking about how Neil is trying to collect all of the Lego Star Wars that exists. And they were like, who's this Neil person? Because they don't watch my shows, and so I described him as an atheist pirate biker guy. I'm like, how else do you describe Neil? Hi, Neil, if you're watching in the future.
I should check with Neil then which ones he needs. So I've got quite a few box sets that are Star Wars still in the closet that, were intended for me to resell.
Oh, there you go.
Lego are
Yeah.
a good investment.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I can't guarantee that they'll always go up, but it's really hard to find an example of a set that went down.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find an example of a set like 3 years old that is selling for less than its original retail.
Yeah,
Is
for
there-
sure.
How come nobody
Is there an
glues their
example
Legos
of a set
together?
that went down?
Because that is sacrilege, Jenny. You know that.
No, I
And
don't.
some
I don't- I
people
don't have.
do-
I've never owned Lego.
Some people
Oh.
do glue them together, especially for store displays.
Heathens. Heretics.
I've run into that a couple of times that I've bought what were supposed to be Lego lots And when I've gotten them, they were all glued together and worthless.
When I was little, you know, we had enough money to operate a farm, but we didn't have much money beyond that.
Mhm.
So all my Legos were like thrift store purchases and shit. And more often than not, they were glued together. And so I had to like take a butter knife and slowly pry off one piece at a time and shit. And it was rough.
Well, see, for a
Porpoise,
lot of stuff,
Porpoise must have heard you invoking her name because she's looking for a StreamYard link.
Aha. Yeah. Let me find the right window here.
Who comes on after this?
Maya's up in
Maya's
9 minutes.
Yep.
For an hour and a half?
Yeah. And then Amy
10:30,
Newman's going to come
11.
on after her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which Amy had not sent me the link before, so it had not been in the playlist, but I just got it and just added it now.
Oh,
Cool.
So yeah, Jenny, at 10 o'clock our time, Amy Newman is going to be on.
I've watched Amy's show, but I've never we're never become friends or anything like that. I certainly haven't been on it.
Amy's
I've gotten
great.
onto her panel a couple of times. You know, mostly arguing with Christians.
Yeah, it was pretty fun argument with Christians last night.
Oh, I'm so bummed I had to go right before things really got going.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Well,
it's like, oh golly, you know, it's like.
I was on.
It boiled down into an argument over junk DNA, and this Christian guy who's famous around, and whose name escapes me at the moment, was going on about how junk DNA, it's been totally discredited, and it's like, well, yeah, it got renamed. It's not really junk. It's just sort of
non-coding
DNA, and so everybody's said that since 2007. What's your point?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is sections that repeat, and it only needs that set of commands once. So if the same set is repeated, then the second one is just ignored.
So let me put it this way: Nephilim Free was demonstrating his poor reading comprehension.
Oh, it was Nephilim. Okay.
It was Nephilim free. Yeah. And it just not well, and his sesquipedalian tendencies, like on and on and on. Holy shit!
I haven't seen Nephilim in a while. I was expecting it to be like sea science or something like that who was doing it.
But at one point in the stream, people were saying junk so many times that I just started laughing and I couldn't stop because it's junk. Wait a minute, what do you mean? And Nephilim 3 got pissed off because I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah. Marry something.
Well,
Last time I was on, there was arguing with Sunflower, mostly over abiogenics.
I wonder what happened to Sunflower.
I've seen
He's
him in
still
the
around.
side chat, but he has not gotten back in the panel again.
Pat Lowinger, happy, merry.
Indeed.
Let's see.
So did someone say a citation was needed?
What
Yes.
was it I said? I said something, and I said eventually Sinister will appear and correct me on this.
You were talking about neural connections being different from digital computers.
Oh yeah,
They are
yes.
different from a digital
Circuitry.
computer.
Yeah, because circuitry can only connect like you can do connections parallel or in series, but it can only go like one thing to one thing to one thing.
Well,
Yes.
Electronics isn't my thing, and that's electronics.
Yes,
We're
that is
talking
correct.
about neural nets. That's just a graph theory problem.
Ember, yes, you're correct. What you said, parallel is, think of resistors. Both ends of the resistors are connected to wires at the same time. Or, I mean, the wires connect all the one side of the resistor all together and the other side all together. and it's a more robust circuitry that's not going to fail as easy, because in a series, if you have one component fail, the whole thing fails.
But the neural nets that are used by programs like ChatGPT are software defined and don't really have that issue. It's just using matrices to go, well, I've explained it easily before. It's just using statistics and linear algebra to determine what the next most likely word is going to be based on what you've told it. Which is why it gives answers that sound good but aren't necessarily correct.
Oh, like a Republican.
I don't think their answers sound good.
Well, if it was based on what sounds good, it could just always assume that fuck is the next word, and it would be right about half the time.
I mean, Kent Hovind sounds intelligent.
I disagree.
You know until you realize he doesn't know what he's talking about.
No. He's a good presenter. He's got the stage presence to make it sound like he knows what he's talking about.
40 years ago, he was a good presenter.
He's still a gifted public speaker. He's just wrong.
Yep.
I don't know. It sounds like, to me, it sounds like he's whining most of the time. Like, you people, you believe in your religion of evolution, okay? we're gonna SpongeBob you some science, okay?
Well, when he learns science, he can try to teach me some.
Right.
He's incapable of learning.
Oh, sorry, I probably shouldn't have.
I think Aaron Ra, not only is he no more and in a lot of ways a better presenter than a lot of these crazy fuckers. I think Aaron should go get the same degree from some shopping mall university, so that he's got the same. Well, you can't. I got a PhD too, Kenny. So why don't you? So just screw you.
Yeah, but
I've offered. I could get him, diploma mill degrees through my. I'm still affiliated with the Universal Life Church, and you can diploma mill things easily enough. I'm like, you can match him degree for degree, plus your bachelor's in evolutionary biology, I think.
Nice.
Jeez, could you could you like make me a PhD?
I mean, I could.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've thought about doing that, but not at least until I have my master's.
That was actually my idea. Is probably my most feasible way to get out of Hawk is just declare myself a university and start selling degrees. No courses required. It's real easy.
Oh,
experimental proctology. Ooh, that sounds exciting.
All you have to do is you just have to send me $6,000, and you wait 5 months, and I'll send you a degree.
Sounds good. I'll take it.
I would
James, give me a call if you need a lab rat. Okay.
I would make them write a dissertation. Because we have got some classic literature from Kent Hovind's dissertation.
Hello, my name is Kent Hovind.
That would be another angle then. And I could also have a YouTube channel debunking all my students' dissertations.
That would be fantastic. Just okay. Here's what Nathaniel Jensen submitted.
You know what, Ember? You need to have, for one of your audio bits, you need to have one of Kent Hovind clucking like a chicken. I think that's probably his best delivery.
Oh my. Alrighty, folks. It looks like Maya's up, so we got to wrap up. So everybody in my stream will automatically get sent over there. Stephanie, I saw, just linked the playlist.
Yep.
So you can find all the various streams. Maya will show up as live, so you can just
Maya's
click
already
through.
running.
Yeah. So thanks for coming all.
As soon as we're out of this link here, we lost the link that you just put up.
That's okay, Jenny.
No, the stream automatically forwards because I told it to.
No,
we don't have
a
powers.
StreamYard link yet.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. All right. So, thanks for coming by, everybody, and keep the party going. Have yourself a happy holiday of whatever flavor you prefer, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Festivus.
Catch you later.
Good
Bye bye.
night.
I challenge you
Enjoy
to a
your
wrestling
banana.
match.
Don't get caught.